There's always two sides to a story, and in this case we're looking at the market in terms of a bullish count, and we haven't forgotten about the bearish count, and we also need to bring in the US dollar as well. In terms of just a straight out bullish count that we've got here in terms of wave 1 here and wave 2 here, and then wave 1 and wave 2 here, I feel okay about this, but feelings don't really come into analysis and but the reason I get that feeling for is because of the stock market, and especially some of the stocks like Apple and Tesla and NVIDIA, some of those small sort of powerful stocks that are moving to the upside. In terms of going from wave 2 to wave 1 here and then back for wave 2 into our box here, we've been working through this we've been working through this top and this trend, and this is where we are now. And it's good that I won't go into a lot of detail here, but it's good that we're trading below the 4,000, because if we trade below it and then the market finds it as support, it kind of validates that it's tested deep into the demand and that there is support there in terms of volume. So yeah, we'll look at this a bit more closely, but it's probably another little move down from this point, but we'll see how that plays out. But along the way, tested support on the 4,000 is the catalyst and the trigger for starting to build into the long side at this point. Now, it does sort of concern me a little bit, the US dollar, because this top here, for example, is around the beginning of February, right? So when I bring over the US dollar here and off the low, if you've been with me on this one, on the low here for the US dollar, it's around the same days, second, third, whatever, and that's the low here, of course. And we've been observing this move to the upside, and we've been counting our curves and ways as we go to the upside. And as you can see, it's just taking out the top here now. In the mirror opposite, the euro was weaker and had already taken out its low at this point. So it's moseying along quite nicely up here. So you would think that when you think about it, you think that well, if the S&P 500 turned on this date here on the 3rd of February, and this one here turned on basically the same date, it had its top here and its bottom over here for this, and we can clearly see that this is a nicer trend, and it's moving to the upside here, unless I've made a mistake and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here topping here, for the C wave at that point. Possible, but still a bit short of my target area. So I'm thinking, if this has still got further to go up here, let's just assume for a moment that we've got 1, 2, we're going up for wave 3 here. This is the length of wave 1 here, so you would expect wave 3 to be longer. So we'll just see how that goes, but just generally speaking, wave 5 could be shorter, and wave 4 and then wave 5. So we're sort of looking up here. We could go higher with this, but while this is trending up here, and this turned at the same date, shouldn't this one be, trending lower through here? You know what I mean? So what happens if we don't get support on the 4,000? What happens if I'm wrong about this wave 2 business here and pushing up here, and we actually come further down here? Well, then we could think of it obviously we've got our bearish count, right? We could look at that too. That's okay. But what about if this, went up? It's the 20 odd of February at the moment, and we'd probably be up here in mid-March or something. The equinox is probably a good date for this, but yeah, so that means that we've got another month up here, depending on how complicated wave 4 is going to be. So can we go lower in here for another month, and what would that look like? So if we duplicated this trend here, this ABC pattern down to here somewhere, or at least push this up for another month and push this down for another month, what would that look like? So I think we need to just talk about it before it may or may not happen, but we need to talk about that a little bit. So this is what it would sort of look like in that regard. So just continuing pushing down here until the equinox, really. There's been quite a few lows in history around the equinox, the March thing. So yeah, that's how that could play out. So we could still look at this as an A or B, then an A and a B. I mean, this particular trend here, every man and his dog has had a crack at counting this, but there's no real, it's a typical case of putting, two Elliott people in a room and coming out with half a dozen answers, So yeah, it could be counted. And the other thing about this is from the top here, it does count down nicely as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So the only way I could put this here is 1 and 2 over here is an A and a B and a C. But to get an expanded flat within 1 and 2 of this degree, I don't know. It's a bit of a long shot, but it's possible. But anyway, if the US dollar kept pushing up and the S&P 500 stocks were affected by that, then this is where we would be. We'd be just taking out this low down here, and then we would push up at that point. Now, of course, there is the bearish pattern for all of this as well. We've got that on the 50K, which is this one here, where we just have the up for the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave for the B wave here, and then we'd have 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 down here for wave 1, 2, and then continuing to move deeper at that point. Now, this is possible when you look at take the S&P at face value, so to speak, but it's not what stocks are telling me. Okay, the stocks are telling me, like Tesla and Apple, from their lows, they've got 5 waves up, so they need to move up higher. So I don't think this is the case, but it's okay to put it on the table. And that's the thing with Elliott, is to look at all the counts and then eliminate them one by one. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be right with every analysis that you do. But what you do need to do is be a bit more diligent and bit more on it with the trade setups and money management of what you're doing. So we say, okay, there's half a silly chance that in this particular instance here that we can move to the upside with wave 1 here, an A and a B, and then having 5 waves. We've been counting down here yesterday. We're looking at wave 4 and coming down for wave 5. Look, it might just push straight up from here. There may be one more little move here, but we'll talk about that. But basically when that, and if that we get the first high above the level here, then we can go long at that point. And it may be something simple like this on the 4,000. We start from the top and then move down, or it could be a little bit more complicated and drop back down here. So hit the 4,000, drop back, push up, and that's what you're waiting for. Then start to work down from the tops. You can work from the bottoms, that's not a problem, but you need to know the internal wave structure. There's always room for improvement, and this is just the shell of an idea, the empty husk of Peter Mathers. So yeah, so that's that anyway. So what we're looking for a low here. Do we get it? All of that sort of stuff. So let's just see. Now, how does this relate to stock? Right, well, I mean, I like Apple because I don't have an Apple phone, but what I like about it is this particular pattern here as wave 1 and 2 here. It's got 5 waves up here for wave 1. It hasn't come up like the S&P in 3 waves. And then this particular pattern here is really this pattern here. So it's the same story. They've got the same pattern, So that makes it a little bit sort of interesting. We haven't quite made a new low below here just yet. So I was thinking that we We needed to make another little low here before pushing up. Now, I've got this as a thin green line and this is a thick green line. So if it comes back up here and it can prove to us that it can find support on the 50 with a classic trading levels pattern, the first high above the level, as the shell of the idea of the setup, then we can go along at that point. You can feed in from this point and we'll go and have a look at that. But in a nutshell, we've got the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave here. Could it come down further? Can it come down past this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Once it gets here, you know, could it go up to here and then come down again? Sure, you know. But what I like about this is that this length over here is roughly the same time as this one. This particular move here doesn't count very nicely as 5 waves down. It counts better as 3 waves down. So yeah, so that's a bit of a thing. And we've got a big B wave here as well. You know, I mean, I'd probably prefer to count 5 waves to here, then have an A and a B and a C wave over here. But there's a few problems with that. But the thing is whichever way you want to look at this, the B wave is big because normally in a bear market, the wave 1 and 2 here, this B wave here, wave 2 here, would be simple and sharp. But this is like humongous here. So it's got the personality of a B wave at this point in time. So there's just there's things like that tell me that there's a half a silly chance that we're bullish. But even if you've got, you know, a bit of a bias towards being bullish, I still need a strong trade setup to go long. And the 150 as of the support is the safe trade. Anything below that is at risk. Obviously, the money's in the turn, as they say, but so is the risk. So let's just go into 100 here and just have a bit of a look at this here. So I want to put that up there, just copy this and look at this as a thin line here, which a thin line just means that, you know, it could be a 25% position or 30 or something. There's a good case for 5 waves being here actually. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3. That's a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third wave, fourth wave. And the fifth wave doesn't really finish off nicely, so I can't go that way, so I have to go the other way. So let's just label this here for a moment. 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third wave. 1, 2, 3. I was hoping this would all be sort of ready, you know, by Thursday afternoon and would be pushing up, you know. I mean, we're pushing up, but I just don't have that. I should have done those in green, but it doesn't really matter. So I can still do that. I can just push these here. The third wave's a bit small, but the fifth wave is, you know, seems pretty small as well at that point. And I'll just borrow these over here, which I won't give back. And so this wave 4 here and wave 5 over here. Yeah, it'd be nice to take this low out here a bit better than that, you know. Let's just, yeah, but I was hoping this would be sort of ready. I was hoping we would you know, Thursday afternoon we'll be getting 5 waves up at this point, but that's just not the case. So let me just get this here. Oops, close enough to there. So that means we can go from here to here, and it'll be something like this. So if you can get 5 waves after this sort of dog leg in here, if that's going to be the case, then just let me check that again. That's the 38.2%. So you can't go long here. You have to wait for that first high above the level. So let's just give that a bit more. I mean, it's going to be where all those dots are joined there. That's going to be the resistance at that point. So I'll just put that up there. So you could start with that there, you know, but you have to wait for that first high. Wherever it is, you have to wait for the first. If you don't know what the first high is, then if you're wondering if it is the high, then you don't have it because you need the market to come back below the level again. Okay, so you have to wait for that. And then if it doesn't push back up at that point and go through that after it's been below the level again, coming down below the level and going up, if it hasn't done that, then that's okay, because then you can wait for it over here and then it's just a rinse and repeat again, that type of thing. So yeah, let's have a look at some of the other markets, see if we're getting 5 waves up here. I mean, it'll be some sort of ABC pattern coming up into this area. But have I done this wrong here? That looks like, oh, could I go that way with it? Could I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the wave 1, 2, 3? Yeah, it's possible. There could be a low in here, but definitely, I mean, obviously we're coming into the end of the session. There's going to be short covering and all sorts of things. But as I mentioned yesterday, whatever we do, we have to wait for a nice clean 5 waves up, and don't feel like you're missing anything, because whatever 5 waves come, if we get 5 waves up here, even if this is 1 and 2 here, and we end up with 3, 4, and 5 above the 38.2%, that's good too, because we're going to come back at that point, and then you can move in at that point. So, but we do want those, we do need those 5 waves to manage the risk. That's the trick. Well, there's many roads to Rome, so, I mean, it's not my way or the highway. It's like you got to find your own way, That's the thing about trading. As soon as you have confidence in yourself, then you can chuck the training wheels off, and off you go into the sunset. So there we go. Well, that's Apple. It's nice that they're all moving up. Let's just check the others. So this is Amazon here. So we've been looking just in the bigger picture. This has been a bit of a wild ride. We've come all the way down for the A wave, the B wave, and then we've been working the C wave here. Now the C wave is a bit short, but I'm okay with that, because the A wave was quite long, so they're kind of rebalancing each other up in that. I know that there should be some sort of equality between them, but when one is out of whack, then it kind of rebalances itself and sorts itself out. So from wave B here, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here. I was wondering about this before, is it possible to put this wave over here and have this as an A wave here, an ABC for the B wave and up for the C wave here, but I don't really have a nice 5 waves here, so I really need to look at this, it's just a little, not really giving me what I want here. This looks like 5 waves up here, so I'm kind of thinking like the A wave, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, the A, the B, and the C to here, then that would leave me as 1 and 2, and then I'd have 1 and 2 and 3, 4 here. But the thing is here, which is good, is, I mean, this is what I'd expect on Thursday afternoon, the market shoring up into the bullish weekly cycle and then getting 5 waves up. It looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. But the thing I like about this, I have to say, is that if we use this as wave 1 down here, then this wave 4 here starting to hasn't overlapped it yet, but and may not, but a nice breach of that. Once again, what we need to do here is get the first high above the level, and then we can look at that, and it does look like we're getting 5 waves here, so we may be able to put these guys in over here. I'd have to bring that over to here to do that, and then I could get 5 waves out of that, So yeah, just looks like let me just dive in there now that we're here with that. This is just 10 ticks. So obviously we can look at that as 1 and 2 here, so it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 in here, because this is pulled down deeper than this, so definitely 1 and 2. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and can we use that as 5 do we have to use that as 1 and 2? But we'd have to use that as 4, wouldn't we? Have to 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So it does appear that we're getting 5 waves up here. So that's kind of interesting. So even if we do, and this keeps, you know, that will top out here somewhere. So let's just assume that we get 5 waves up here. It's not really overlapping this one here just yet, which is what we wanted. And this is also, we gravitate over to 95. So we put this at 95. That's where that's going to play out. So we could look for a classic trading levels pattern at the 95 here. That would do the trick, you know, on the long side. So we'll look for something like this. We need that. We're here now. We'll need that, and we'll need that, and then we'll need this. Now it'll probably drop back below the level at this point, but you start from the top and then work down. So that's the way to approach this. And because we're buying on the lows, it means that you need to use less. So don't get all excited and, you know, bet everything on the situation, because that's just crazy. Just start off really small, and then also think too, like if this is some sort of low here and we get 5 waves here, and you get, normally if you trade, you know, say 100 shares, well, you know, if you've got 20 shares, and then you've got to think about it, managing that risk, because the stock would have to go under here somewhere. And then there's also going to be a larger 5 waves up that can come back, and, you know, sometimes they come back quite sharply, you know. So you don't want to be thrown out on this, you know. So your next 20 can go into here, or if you see that 5 waves here, then you can come back here and go, well, all right, this is the 50-60%. I can count an ABC pattern here. I'd like to go in on the low, but Pete said I've got to wait for at least the first 5 waves up here just to make sure that I can manage this risk, and then go long here again. So you end up getting another 20 or so, or you can get more at this point, because you've got 5 waves here, a larger 5 waves, because that will produce another 5 waves over here. So you could increase that bet to sort of 30 and have 50 at this point, you know, and then this would have 5 waves up here, and then that's going to pull back in here. So then you can build up another 50 at that point, and you're managing your risk each time, you know, a little bit better. So you're just doing, because that's the trick. It's, you know, it's about saving money, isn't it? It doesn't matter how much you earn. The trick is how much you spend. So that's the thing, you know. That's enough waffling on at that point. Let's just go back to 100 here. So yeah, like this is what I would expect on a Thursday afternoon in a bullish weekly cycle, everything to finish off, you know. But let's just keep cruising through and see what we're seeing, get to see what we see. Obviously NVIDIA had its little earnings yesterday, but this is another good case, you know. I mean, because we'd been counting 5 waves up here, we'd been looking for the A, the B and the C here. Now it did pop up. I was expecting not that good. I did expect one more low to come in here, but and then push up, but obviously it's just done what it's done, and then I've gone back over here and justified myself. You know, yeah, so, you know, this would be wave 1 here. We can look at this as an ABC to pull back, or it can, that's why I've got this here. It either just continues to move straight up like that, or we'll get this wave 2 to move back here. So what you can do to start with is you can just buy that new high there. My good buddy Anil in Canada, he bought a shitload down here, and then he listened to, I think it's funny, Anil, so I have to say, that he was listening to people talk on CNN about bagging this particular stock, so he sold half. So it's a bit of woulda, coulda, shoulda. But he's got balls, old Anil, that's for sure. Yeah, this is, I mean, I just see this as positive, you know. That's the thing about this. And really, you know, it'll either go straight up from here or come back here. and then it's going to have a bit of a dance across this level here, of course, you know, and then when it's done here, it's going to push up again. So I just see it's a good hold, and we know this is supported. You know, we know the politicians are supporting this situation here. So yeah, all good on this front. And Facebook here. So this is a little bit of a tricky one here. I know that it's kind of, there's a beginning and a middle and an end to everything, and I know that we're close to the end here. I've understood most of this, but I've just not really been happy with the A and the B wave here for this. Been a bit small. I could bring it down to here, I guess, but I'd have to sort of label it differently, and yeah, so I'm not quite sure about this here, but I thought what we could do is that we could look to go long above this old high here. So because if Friday is going to be strong, if Friday closes strong, then Monday is going to follow through on it. So that's that's the blessing of it all, you know. So, and we can see that the other thing here, you know, I can count 5 waves here, that's nice, and I can count 5 waves here, and I can get in here and, you know, get most of this right and those sort of things. But the other point to it is that this is the beginning, because there's really sharp kickbacks in it. This is the middle, and then we're in the end here, you know. So that's the kind of the truth of the trend that we have to go with. So we do need to find a way in, and buying new highs is kind of logical, isn't it? You know, because the market's proving to you that it's moving up. Now, it may not always be right. You know, we could be, you know, caught out quite easily. So that's why we say less is more. And you start off with a small amount and then continue along your journey at that point. So the next one is Netflix. Now, Netflix may have a low in here as well. But I think there could also be another low. We're in our target area here. I'd have to double check that because it does move a little bit. But to the other point here, there's 2 things here, is that this is a big number and markets are normally pulled to it. There is, you know, a small chance that they don't get pulled to this number. There's too much demand that comes in. But I'm a little bit unsure. So what we're going to do here is group 1, the 330 here. Group 1 of 300 of major trading level 3, and this is minor 1, 2, and 3 that make up minor group 1. And if we get a tested support on top of minor group 1, then I know that we're not going to be pulled by this number. But while it's here in group 1 here, it'll be being pulled by this. So if we get a classic trading levels pattern on the 330, then as a nice tested support here, and it can drop below the level here, so it's a process. But once we do find support on this level, if we find support, then we can have a safer trade to the upside. The other point that we can look for in the meantime is we could look at this, is that we'll either have an ABC up here and then we'll come down, or we're going to have 5 waves up here, and that will give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that will be the first high above the level. And then we'll have our ABC pattern here, and based on those 5, we could pull back and buy in here based on those 5. So really we're buying it here, where you'll be buying it over here. So, you know, it's just safer that way. So a bit of wisdom and patience and all those virtuous things that we haven't used for a while. So Enphase, I don't know. I had another look at this today and tried to understand this move here. In a little odd way, I think we do have 5 waves from here to here. There's a couple of little issues with that, and I haven't labelled it because people start throwing stuff at me again. But basically, it has made a new low. The rest of the market's got half a silly chance of pushing up. We need to confirm that yet because we don't know that. And yeah, so just Sorry, just placing an order on the side there. Yeah, let's just see. I was thinking that I'm just going to reduce this in size to a thin line, so a part position. If you're very keen on this, then if you get a classic trading levels pattern at the 10, at the 210, then we can move on from that point. Now, it looks like there's good support here on this level. So if the number, because number 1, which is 10, if 1 here develops a support, then we know that it's going to be positive from that point. Now, like I said before, I don't particularly understand all of this little pattern here. It's just not there. I know that lithium, if we tie it into the battery side of the world with the metals, lithium still got further to go down. Nickel and copper, they're a bit toppy, but they got further to go up, so there is support there for those. I just don't know. I can't give a confident answer on this one, so I'll just continue to pass on this until I see something. So with Tesla here, we've got a nice move up here. Now, I could put an ABC here for this, but it's a little bit small. It sort of reminds me of still being a wave 4 over here. Putting a wave 4 here would make a little bit more sense. But it seems to fit, everything seems to fit in there sort of quite nicely. It's just that wave 2 is a bit small, and we just sort of expect this to come down a bit further. But if the markets are going to push up, well, then this is going to push up as well. So this is a good case here where we put a green line above the top here. Now we can bring it down above the B wave here. You could also bring it down above this one here and put a smaller, thinner line on that one. So we're going to talk about that, but I'll just leave that there for the moment, and we'll just, sorry for not doing this stock over the last 2 days. The chart had just sort of wandered off my list. Let's just go in here and have a look. So this was another way to look at it, because they just haven't had the correction at this point in time. I mean, that is 5 waves to that point. That's an A and a B and a C, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can technically, we should be able to put that here and be done with it, So this 10 here, what we can do is that, let's just assume that this went up here let's just talk about this for a moment. So from here to here, that's interesting, because that would be, just roughly speaking, you can just check it out a bit more, somewhere in here. Let's just call it at the 10. Let's just say that's this old high here is significant, and that's the 61.8% roughly, and always gravitate over to the closest largest number, and that would be it there. So if let's just say if we had that as a B wave there, then the market would go an ABC up here. It's going to react from here anyway, so you don't have to panic at the beginning of it all. But if it was going to be, it would be like this, to have a bigger picture here like this. So yeah, so that would be it. So what we could do is we could say that if we got a first high above the level there, well, that would make things very interesting at that point. So what we could do is we could have this, we could go long here, but we need a nice trade setup at this point. We need to have a bit of gravity in what we're doing over here to enter, because we could know that it could fail at this point. It might fail from here, and it might just shoot up and have another high here, and of course that could go on the top there, of course, as well, just bringing it down at that point. And the other thing is going, well, that's quite a long way away from everything. This looks like an impulsive wave here, so can't we just also go long here? Well, we can, so we could just put a very small position in there, and then if we're going to go on that small position there, then we'd have to put the stop under here for that. And that would manage that risk at that point. And then we can build on here, and then instead of going long at the top here, we actually go long over here with another classic trading levels pattern over here, so the first high above the level, and do that one over here. And then we do the same on top of group 1 here, because if group 1 becomes the support, then if this number 3 becomes the support, then we know that we're leaving this large number here, and that's the thing. Group 1 holds the market to this number here, and then group 2 below here, its job is to hold it back to this number. That's the swing range for all of this. Now it looks like it's a long way away from each other at this point, but making decisions in this space here is, yeah, it's a little bit dangerous. You can't keep changing your mind in here. That's the thing. So, I mean, the other good thing about this too, I'm just thinking, if the market takes out this top here, see, currently that's 5 waves, and that will be 5 waves. So if that top gets taken out here, it forces this move here to be an A and a B and a C wave here. Now, it might be 1 degree smaller, and it could be over here, and then we still get this move down here, but it still makes this move here corrective if this top is taken out. So even if you're in here, you might not need to get out here and accept that loss. You know, you could go to another market and short something else at that point until this plays out here and hedge that position, you know. But yeah, taking that top out there makes that a bullish corrective pattern, and it could come down further, but at least you know that it's corrective at that point. So when we look at this on the 100 ticks, this would be a different count here. This is I've got this as a slightly different count, but the main point here that I wanted to point out is that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for this. Then we've got the A, the B, and the C wave here. We've got nice 5 waves over here for that. So, and then we've got 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Not very nice 5 waves here, but it gets skewed by large numbers. So yeah, so there we go. Let's just see if that top gets taken out. Okay, I'm going to move on from that one now. Alphabet, a bit like Amazon, really had that big sweeping move down, and the A wave and the B wave, and then even though the C wave is a bit short for this one here, I think that we're sort of on the right track here for this. We were looking at that wave 4 here yesterday. Maybe we've got to put it on that spike. You know, I don't like spikes, but does leave a few things here. So I mean, we're obviously going to get a bounce off that number. And just mulling this over here. I mean, if you went long here, you have to keep which is not too bad, you have to keep the stop under the level here. But I'm just worried if I put this over here, for example, that would be 1 and 2, and probably the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th here. However, I think if we went long with the first high above the level on this one, then we could build in, and then we do the same on this one, and then we do the same on this one. So they're just small positions building up. I mean, you could make this one bigger. That's not a problem at that point. This one here needs to be thin, so you're not going to lose too much. And this one here can be big as well, but we'll talk about that later. I mean, it looks like it's wanting to be sort of impulsive at this point, so that's good. But we don't know yet. It's still a bit early to tell. But yeah, support on this here would cement that low in here. Alrighty. Microsoft, well, we've got our wave 4, and if that's breached, we can go long at that point. We haven't really made a new low here. I can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Unless I can look at that as wave 1 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I never really resolved this properly, to be honest. I'm not sure if that needs to go over here and a few things like that, or that can go there, and this could go here, and that could go there, and this could go here, and this could go here. We could look at that, but that looks like 5 waves. I think we're on the right track here. We just haven't made that new low here yet. It does look like 5 waves here. Anyway, taking that top out there would be the right move. So you'd have group 1 here at 3. So you could probably build a very small position there, and then on top of the 5 here as well. So 55 rather than that top there, you know. Look for a little classic trading levels pattern at that point, and then a smaller one at this point. It's high risk. So just a 25% position at that point. I mean, picking the bottoms and tops of markets is, well, it's just dangerous, isn't it, And, I don't mind a loss, but the trouble with a loss, it just takes you time to recover that loss, isn't it? That's the thing. Alrighty, and okay, Berkshire Hathaway. So this is the actual high here, this one here. I mean, technically we should put that over there, and it does give me a reasonable 5 wave structure down here. But this one here also gives me 5 waves up here as well. So I think this is the end of some sort of C wave through to here. So some sort of A wave here, some B wave over to this point here, maybe A, B, C, D, E. No, that's not going to work. I'd have to give it a bit of thought. But yeah, so if I do take it from here, that kind of gives me 5 waves to that point. We haven't made a new low here either just yet. So there's a few little things that are not quite there with me just yet, but we're very close to all of this. And the thing is that if this was going to be bearish here as wave 1 and 2 here, well then this is a pretty big, this is not really, it doesn't look like a wave 2, even if I put the B wave here or the wave 2 here, it's still rather complicated. So it's typically a B wave. So I believe that I'm on the right track. We could probably go long above here, and if we're going to go long above here, that means that we can use the 5 here. So a classic trading levels pattern on the 5 would do the job. So you need that first high above the level. Let me just go into, I was going to go into 10 ticks, so I just want to check on this here. So this is the move here. You see how this has got 5 waves up here, nice strong 3rd wave. This one here from the top here has got 1, 2, 3, 4, but it does overlap here. So yeah, maybe I am okay with that. So maybe I can go the A wave here, then an A, B, C, D, and E here for the B wave, and then up for the C wave here. So an A and a B and a C wave here. That would leave me 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 3rd wave, 4th wave. Got an overlap there though. I can take that on board. That would give me wave 1 to here, 2 to here, nice 3rd wave here, A, B, C for the 4th, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we could have a low in here. So yeah, like I said, that having that 305 here, you could probably build in on 303 too if you're really keen and want to, and you want to handle the risk a little bit closer. But this is where I make mistakes, you know what I mean? It's just so just got to be, this is why I said yesterday, we really want to see a nice 5 waves up for for everything, you know, and we're getting that, and I think we've got the lows in place. Hang on a second, I just want to add to my S&P position. Okay, so let's just move on. 440. So block here. We've been looking for wave 1 with an A and a B and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the C wave here. Once again, you know, to say that's the low is a bit of a long shot, you know what I mean? So, but look, she's responding, which is good. So once again, that wave 4 here would be a situation, but also this we may be able to work. This is from 70. We got 1, 2, and 3 here, so 73 as a nice support here, but it's going to move up. This 1, 2, 3. I can see this is going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here for that. And it's going to do something like that. So if you can kind of wait for that a little bit, then bring that down to here, that would be okay at that point, because we can't rule out this being down for 1, ABC back for 2, and then coming down further again at this point, you know. And this is just short covering on the close and all of that sort of stuff, but I think we're on the right track here. See if I just bring the S&P across here, see how we've come back up on the SP 500, back onto support here. So we're getting that 5 waves that we're talking about here. So that could be good for everything. And Bank of America. So we're in the box, our target area. Have we got the right count from wave 1 down to wave 2 as the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave here? It's a bit of a rickety ride in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, a bit of overlap there, and wave 5 here. But we've got it's a nice third wave here. Wave 4 is complicated, so it's good. Do we have that wave 5 in here? Do we need to come down further? I'm not quite sure, but it's the fact that it's moving up so much, you know, I mean, that would be the 50-60% at that point. I can see parts of this. I mean, it should equal each other. It should, from this point here, obviously if it hits these old highs here, it's going to find resistance there, isn't it? So let's just imagine that it gets to there. It's going to have some sort of pullback at that point, isn't it? So that's, you know, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Because if you went long from here, then you really need to leave the stop sort of down here somewhere on that, you know. But I'll leave that to you. Let's just see if we get 5 waves up here. But if you really like this, then that's okay. But I think at least waiting for this here, because this is a little bit of an oddball kind of trend here with all of this. But I think we're okay. That will also play out there as well. So when it does go through the trend line here, it's going to come back and check it as well before moving up. And then we can also add to the 30 above the 35 here as well on that. So just very small positions in here until we get, you know, something, until we can recognize that we've got a nice, somewhere in here that we've got a nice 5 wave structure at this point. And that's BHP, so we've got little ABC coming in there. That's nearly finished. That's all good. Okay, so all of that's that. I've got to fix my S&P trade up. So thanks for tuning in. Sorry for such a long video. Cheers.